Hello. So, God had given me this message a couple days ago. But today, this morning, I was doing some dishes, and the Lord led me to a video that was posted by a fellow chosen one who is always on point. Like, we literally almost share a brain, because I'll have something said to me by the Lord, and then this person will go and make a video about the exact thing that I had a message on. I was like, wow. And vice versa, right? So that was intentional, because it was so similar that I knew the Lord was telling me that this was confirmation. Because a lot of times, how I receive my messages is in many different ways, many different forms, right? But a lot of times the Lord will, some of the times He'll give me a message and push upon me to put it out right away, probably because the devil's going to try and take it. And He'll usually do that with ones that are like really important, like warnings and things like that, right? Because He wants me to come across exactly how He indicated to me. But then in other ones, if it's like not as important, or it's kind of something I've already made a message on already, and it's just in a different version, a more complex message, I don't know what you'd say, but like just more content to it, He will have me sit on it for a couple of days and wait for further instructions, and then show me a confirmation. And that's what He did in this case, right? So I've made a word about this in the past. This isn't the first word I've made pertaining to this topic. But basically, like I just said, the Lord has given me this message today, and it's more revised, experienced version than the ones that I put out in the past, right? So anyways, let's get to it. So in this message, I want to talk about how your enemies, your adversaries, those who come up against you, the Lord had revealed this to me in the past, but gave it to me this morning with such clarity that I knew that there was no other way to take it, right? It was very specific. 1 second. Sorry about that. So as I was saying there, sorry, that always happens. I rebuke you, devil. Oh, right. Okay, thank you, Lord. So this was very specific, and God was saying that one of the reasons why your enemies may have went against you in the first place, and this was confirmation for me, because the Lord had revealed to me that same thing goes for me. So this is a message from the Lord to me, and a message to you from the Lord as well, right? So with chosen ones, myself and you, if this word resonates for you, are very good. They're very skilled. They're very good at a lot of things. Just no different than how David in the Bible was a chosen one, and he was good at a great many things, right? Now, he wasn't perfect. No human on the planet is perfect, me included, you included, but he just was very skilled. And the Bible only shows us what it shows us about David. It doesn't talk about every single little aspect of his personality. But we can gather that he obviously was humbled to some degree for the majority, because when Saul was going against him with like full speed ahead, David had opportunities to do things to Saul, and he didn't. He also revered the Lord and humbled himself in the sight of the Lord. He understood the transgressions that he committed. He wasn't ever trying to suggest that, oh, I never made those transgressions. You know, when he was owed a whooping from the Lord, so to speak, he took it. You know, he knew where he went wrong and where he went off the path, right? And the Lord is saying that His chosen ones are very much like David, where they're in a skillful way like David is, or David was, But they too make mistakes. Of course, they're human. But because David had Saul against him, David had to stay on point. This is something that's seen again and again and again in the book of Psalms, in his Psalms. David knew that he had to stay on point. He had to let the Lord fight his battles, but he even asked numerous times in numerous Psalms for the Lord to, take on his enemies and also, not put him to shame, right? And so he knew that even though he fell short from time to time and he wasn't perfect, that he knew he had to stay on point because of the fact, not because he thought he was really great, but because he knew that every single thing he did was under a magnifying glass. It was more scrutinized than the average person. So for instance, because he was so skilled and he was king of Israel and he was chosen, he had enemies coming against him, and his Psalms talk about it. One of the head enemies coming against him was Saul, and Saul was even at one point anointed and appointed himself and was king himself, and he still took it upon himself to go against David. That's how good David was at what he was doing. That whether David flashed or didn't flash, it didn't matter. Just the hands, the work of his hands, the way he walked, the way he moved. If he would have danced, he would have danced in a certain way. If he would have, well, he did dance, right? Yeah, he danced. He danced, he played music. It was in a certain way. He was even good at playing the harp for Saul. It doesn't say this in the Bible, but the Lord led me to know that Saul was frustrated with David because in Saul's mind, he's like, is there anything this guy can't do? Like, we were both kings, we were both appointed, we both were chosen in our own rights. But, this guy took down Goliath. This guy cheated with Bathsheba and got her husband killed in battle and still came out on top, Like, this guy plays the harp for me when I'm having a bad day. This guy has this and, his bloodline. And, Saul, again, I'm paraphrasing, but this is what the Lord had highlighted to me. There were so many things that David had, oh yes, thank you, Lord. So he's talking about that part in the Bible where it says that Saul was getting angry because the little song they were singing was that Saul had killed 1,000, but David had killed 10,000. So so David didn't need to go around bragging himself up because the other onlookers that were third parties on the outside of Saul and David's dynamics, they witnessed the things for themselves. So if Saul had 10 talents, David had 20. If Saul could do 20 things, David could do 40. If Saul had 3 kids, David had 10. You know what I'm saying? If Saul had 5 wives, David had 7. God was showing me that Saul had such an issue with David. Yes, we know in the Bible he was jealous and envious and stuff, but it wasn't that simple. It wasn't like, oh, David did one thing or did this thing, so therefore I'm jealous. God was showing me that David was just so much very talented, so skilled in comparison to Saul, right? And so it wasn't a fault to Saul, and it wasn't a fault to David. That's how God made Saul, and that's how God made David. They were what they were, right? It wouldn't have been right for David to be envious of Saul, but in turn, it also wasn't right for Saul to be envious of David. And it didn't matter who had more, who had less. But the Lord revealed to me that if the tables were turned and Saul had more than David, talent-wise, skill, etc., David would not have been envious of Saul. Not only was David so talented, but the Lord also blessed David with not being insecure and envious and all that negative emotion in the same form and fashion that Saul was. Now, don't get me wrong, of course, David was human. There was times that he probably felt envious of Saul when Saul was getting away with, so to speak, with going after him, you know what I mean? Things like that. But coming down to the bare nitty gritty, Saul had an envious, spiteful heart, and David's was cleaner. So even at the very bitter end, when it came down to hearts, David's was cleaner than Saul's, even to something as simple as that, right? So probably because David had a cleaner heart than Saul's, that's another reason why God was able to bless David so exponentially, was because David had a clean heart space. Saul maybe could have received the talents and skills and extras to the point that David had them, but could not receive them because of the fact that his heart was dirty. And so the Lord's like, what do you want from me? His heart's cleaner than yours. You have to have a clean heart to receive. Your heart's dirtier. Maybe if your heart was cleaner, you could be in this position, but you're not. And I don't bless mess. I bless cleanliness. And I bless David, because his heart is cleaner. So Saul still received some favor and some blessings, but it wasn't in the same way. Now, God was showing me, too, that it didn't matter about this, that, and the third. So Saul could have been rich and David could have been poor, even though that wasn't the case, but just say it was. Saul still would have been envious of David, even though Saul's richer than David. Say Saul had 10 wives and David had none. Technically, back in those times, Saul would have been considered more, opulent, because of the fact that he had all these wives, and David would have been looked down as less because he was unmarried. But even in that situation, with all that considered, Saul still would have been envious of David, because it didn't matter if David was rich, poor, tall, short, old, young, had one wife, had 20, had, divorced, like whatever. It didn't matter what David did. David, in essence, was more skilled and talented than Saul. So therefore, no matter what, Saul was envious of David. Even though David was playing the harp for Saul, Saul should have been grateful for that. And he was, because he got David to continue playing. But the Lord revealed to me that even in that circumstance, Saul still had his dirty heart in the mix, because it's with him at all times, to where he's viewing David in that circumstance enviously, because even though David's being gracious to Saul, Saul's viewing David doing that as like, well, why does he got to be so good at the harp? If I was as good at the harp as David is, I could just play the harp for myself. Or, there's other people that play harp, but somehow David's harp skills are more effective, so I always have to call on David. So God's saying that no matter what David did, even when he was being gracious to Saul and was being kind and a good person, Saul was still having some sort of spiteful, envious energy or outlook on what David was doing, even when David was doing stuff for Saul. So, God's even showing, we know about in the cave when David cut a piece of Saul's clothing off or garment off and used as proof to show him, see, I was alone with you. I had a weapon with me. I had the tool that cut off, I don't want to say knife because I don't know, but, I had a way to cut off your garment. I could have used that on you and I didn't. So you'd think that Saul, in that circumstance, would be like, wow, I've seen David all wrong. Not only I know he's good at things, but not only that, I've been seeing him wrong. He's been actually very gracious to me. He's proving to me he had an opportunity to hurt me, and he didn't take it. If the shoes were on the other feet, I would have done it to him. But no, God's saying that's not what happened. He saw it deep down in the back of his mind subconsciously as like, well, there he goes again. If I was in his shoes, I would have done that to me, and he didn't do that to me. There he goes trying to flex again, trying to show off to me, trying to show me that even when he's in a position to take me out, he's so good-hearted, he won't even do that. So God is saying one of the reasons why Saul got taken out and David didn't is there was several reasons. And even when Saul did, David mourned for Saul, even despite all of this, right? Because from the beginning, through the endurance, the middle, and the very end, when Saul was already gone, David had this clean heart through all three stages, and was born with it and died with it, right? That was just, David had claims to fame, but God's saying one of David's biggest claims to fame was his clean heart. And of course, these are things that the Bible doesn't necessarily talk about on paper, but if you have a close relationship with the Lord, at least for me, what the Lord does is he reveals to me more insight on the characters of the Bible, right? So the Lord will reveal to me more of who these people were, because the Bible's not going to go into every single detail, right? The book is already, 600 to 1,000 pages, depending on your version. It would be thousands and thousands. So, but the Lord has highlighted to me more insight on each of these individuals, and he's revealed to me insight on who Saul really truly was on paper and off, and who David really truly was on paper and off. Okay, so this message is relevant to chosen ones because when you have people coming against you, you're like David, where you have a clean heart, and aside from that, you're skilled in many different areas. The Lord is saying that even if you weren't so skilled in so many different areas, because of your clean heart, these people that come against you would still have issue with you. Okay? So say these people, okay, so God's saying a lot of these people that come against you have more money than you. They're in a higher tax bracket. They're more affluent than you are. They have nicer homes than you. Maybe they own their home and you rent. They have a nicer vehicle than you. Maybe theirs is a newer model and yours is an old beater, right? They have more friends than you. Say maybe you don't have any friends. They have, when their family maybe is more supportive than yours is. You know what I mean? I could go on and on. God has went ahead and already blessed these people, like he blessed Saul with all kinds of stuff. Saul was a king. Saul was anointed. Saul was appointed. He was chosen at one point in time for his duties, right? Same thing with these people that come against you. You probably notice that you're thinking to yourself like, hey, what do you want from me? Like, why are you so envious of me? Why do you got it out for me so bad? Like, if the shoes, like, so here's me, I live in a rental, you own your own home. I'm not jealous or envious that I rent and you own, but yet you own and you're jealous that I live in a rental. Like, what? Or I have a $2,000 value car or vehicle and you have a $100,000 car or vehicle, and yet you want to still come at me, but yet you have but the other way around, I'm not jealous or envious or spiteful at you for having more than me. And this is something that bugs these people. These people that come against you know that they have more than you. They want you to look at them the way they look at you, because they know that you rent and they own. They know that you have less money than them. They know that you have less friends than them. They know that you have less support than them. They know that when it comes to the world's standards, that they are in a quote-unquote better position than you are. But yet, they still look down at you with jealous, envious, spiteful eyes, like how Saul looked at David. And this is one of the things that frustrated the Lord the most. There were several things that frustrated the Lord in regards to Saul to David, but one of the things was, in God's mind, God saying, Saul, I blessed you. I gave you lots of things. And you should have been grateful and happy with that. I blessed David. He's grateful and happy with what he has. He's not taking it upon himself to go and with, God's saying haughty eyes, go and look in everybody else's backyard with his haughty eyes, seeing what they have and he doesn't have. God wants you to be grateful of what you receive, right? So because you, as the chosen one like David, have a clean heart like he did, he was grateful for what he had. And because of that clean heart and that gratitude, it gave a nice clean vessel for the Lord to bless more. Because like we say, the Lord doesn't bless mess, right? And so these people, if they wanted to receive more, they should have been grateful for what the Lord had given them, whatever it is that they have been blessed with. And that's the thing. It's not like these people have less than you. Some of them maybe do. But like, if you have no friends, some of these people have friends. Like some have more, some have less, but they have friends. If you have money, like some money, these people have more money than you, You could go to them and ask for a loan. They wouldn't go and ask you. You know what I'm saying? The Lord has already given them their piece of the pie. He's already blessed them. And from your perspective and the Lord has already given them more than what he gave you by the world standards. You know it and they know that, right? But in your mind, you're thinking, okay, so I'm cool with what you gave me, Lord, but you did give them more. They know it and I know it. So why are they still trying to come after me? Because what it is has nothing to do with how you present yourself, how you talk, how you dress, how you act. They say it does, okay? They try and put the blame on you and say, well, you act like you're so great, but you're not though. You don't have nothing to flex. How can someone who rents their home act like they're really great, How can somebody who, like I just said, has maybe no support or no friends or no money or, no this or that by the world standards, how are they flexing? Especially, how are they flexing to people that have more than them? That doesn't make sense, right? But so the Lord is saying they're wanting to have their cake and eat it too. They want to look down at you at having less than them, but then at the same time, they don't want to be grateful for what they have. But then at the same time, they want to turn around and act like you think you're better than them. But the Lord is saying, how can you run forwards and backwards at the exact same time? It's not even possible. It's the same thing. If you have less than them by their standards and their perspectives, why would you turn around and flex and show off? Like, it doesn't even make sense, right? And this is, like, no one's making it up. So technically, these people have more than you. They know it and you know it, but you're not jealous and envious of them. But yet they're jealous and envious of you. Of what though? What are they so jealous and envious of? You know that it's not money. You know that it's not status. You know that it's not support. You know that it's not career. You know what I mean? You know it's none of these worldly things. I'm here to tell you what it is. It's your clean heart. Because God is saying that even if David had no other skills of nothing, but he had that clean heart in him, which he had from birth, Saul and Joe Blow and so-and-so and so-and-so would have still had it out for David. And he speaks about these enemies in the Psalms just because of his clean heart. But because he had a clean heart, the Lord was able to bless him more. And then when he took his clean heart plus the blessings of the Lord, it equaled to this even greater person, right? By the world's eyes and by his enemy's eyes and by Saul's eyes specifically. So therefore it went over top for Saul. Like, it started out already there and it just blew over for him to go after David because he couldn't take it. He couldn't handle it. And it's what prompted him to go see the medium in the first place. And the Bible says that, the medium spirit got on Saul and turned his heart cold, and he had an evil spirit put upon him from there. But the Lord is saying no, because what made him go visit the medium in the first place, right? It was, so Saul already had the dirty heart before he even knocked on the medium's door. After seeing the medium, it just made it all the worse. But the reason why Saul was, and the Bible doesn't say this, but this is what the Lord told me, but the reason why Saul was so motivated to do what he was doing and had it out for David so bad was because he couldn't take the fact that on one hand, without nothing, stripped bare to zero, David still had more grace on him and more favor than what Saul had. And the reason why was because David was born with a clean heart. So whether David was rich or poor, he had that clean heart space. Whether David was married or unmarried, whether he was affluent or not affluent, he had that clean heart space, right? So then, because of that clean heart space, God poured more blessings into David, made him a great warrior, made him a great leader, things like this. And because of these extra bonus benefits that the Lord had blessed David with, Saul's envy went from a 5 to a 12. It was over top. He could not take it, right? And so that's why he had it out for David. That's why he went to see the medium, all this stuff. And so the Lord is saying that, yes, the whole medium thing and the dark spirit is part of why the Lord took Saul out. But an even bigger part was that Saul wasn't repenting, and the Lord had enough of Saul's haughtiness and his ingratitude. Okay, now we take that and we compare it to today's day and age, with today's chosen ones, today's Davids that are walking around. They're too dealing with Sauls. Okay, and I made a word yesterday speaking about how there's several people that Saul has got against you, but there's a ringleader, and that is Saul, right? In this message it's Saul, but that also highlights the message from yesterday. Is that I talk about like a pyramid, and there's like a person at the top of the pyramid that's trying to get all these people, and it's a ringleader, right? And that person is like a Saul. So you have many different Sauls, but there's like one head Saul, in your life today in 2024, comparatively, like how there was in David's days, okay? And so a lot of these people that come against you, they felt like Saul did, where they had dirty hearts. So Saul had a dirty heart, David had a clean heart. That's what motivated Saul to go against David. And there were a lot of other people that were going against David, and their beef with him too was his clean heart, okay? You have people today going against you, and the thing that they have in common with the Saul of today is you were born with a clean heart as well, because all chosen ones are born with a clean heart. That's what sets you apart, amongst other things, but that's one of the key things. They all share this common ground where they don't like you, and why they don't like you is because of your clean heart. Now, in today's age, they're not going to sit around and go, yeah, man, her clean heart, his clean heart is just, I can't take that clean heart. It rubs me the wrong way. That clean heart, though, my heart's dirty, theirs is clean, it gets under my skin. No one's going to say that. Instead, today's worldly looks like, they think they're so great. oh, I heard they did this, and I heard that this happened, and I saw them do this, and I saw them do that. That's all prideful cover up for the truth of, I have a dirty heart, they have a clean heart, and I'm envious of the fact that my heart's dirty and their heart is clean. So the Lord is saying, because you have a clean heart, just like David, he's blessed you with extra bonus benefits, right? Just like, and talents and skills, like he blessed David with. And so these people don't like that you don't have money, but yet you still somehow live a joyful life. They don't like that you rent your home and they own theirs, and yet you're content with what you have. They don't like that they have 500 friends and you have 0 and it doesn't bother you. They don't like that all these things that are not going for you in the world's eyes aren't bringing you down, so to speak, right? And meanwhile, they have everything. They have all this stuff that by the world's eyes should make them in this happy, blessed position, but yet they don't feel that way inside. And it's proven that they don't feel that way inside because they got guns blazing for you. But why do they have guns blazing for you? You have nothing, like they say, the old saying, thieves don't rob empty houses, right? Your house is empty, so therefore why would a thief be attracted, right? They don't. You have bigger fish to fry out there. So why, if your house is empty and they're thieves, why are they, you'd be saying, you're saying to them, like, really? So you are going against me because I don't have anything. You're trying to ensure I have nothing. So here I am over here with nothing, but you're still upset. And it's like, what are you upset about, right? And it's the same thing with David and Saul. And that's how God saw it too with Saul. Is like, why are you so upset with David? Like, yes, he has A, B, C, D, E, but you also have A, B, C, D, E. So why the beef? Like, what is it, right? And so the Lord just viewed Saul as being very ungrateful, and that's a dark spirit. You don't need to go visit a medium. If you're already viewing life from that lens, you have a dirty heart, right? And so therefore, because you do, God cannot bless you. Like, it's literally impossible. So he has blessed these people, but yet they're still viewing things with this dirty heart, and they want more blessings. They're upset with your blessings. And so the Lord is basically the referee coming in and saying to them, those who come against you, why would I take the blessings away from this chosen one? You have more than them, and you're not content with what you have. You're still looking at them with haughty eyes. They, however, are content with what they have, even though they know it's not much, I know it's not much, and you know it's not much. You're upset and frustrated because they're not viewing you with the same haughty eyes that you're viewing them with. You want them to be jealous and envious of the fact and have a dark spirit on them like you have, and go tit for tat back and forth about what you have, right? That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to view them the same way that they view you. But you're not ever going to view them the way that they view you, because the difference between isn't money, isn't status, isn't friends, isn't looks, isn't this or that. It's that they have a dirty heart and you have a clean heart. So those with a dirty heart are never going to look at someone with a clean heart in one way, and someone in a certain way, and someone with a clean heart isn't going to look like someone with a dirty heart in a certain way. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's what sets them apart, and that's what set David and Saul apart too. Okay? Just 1 second. Sorry about that. My son needed me. I could hear him hollering. So that is what sets you and your enemies and adversaries who come against you apart. And that is also what sets Saul and David apart, okay? Now, people don't understand this, especially in today's world, in 2024, when we're so full of sin. People view things of that only the rich get to look down on others, and only those who have excess of things, excess beauty, excess looks, excess money, excess cars, excess toys, excess jewelry, things like this, excess followers. These are people that get to look down on people, right? But in the real world, nobody gets to look down on anybody, irregardless of what they have, because there's certain things that people have that others don't have. For example, somebody could have a marriage, but if there's no love in that marriage, then how are they really ahead of somebody who's single and in peace, joy, and, love for themselves? Do you know what I'm saying? One person is alone, but they have love. And then the other person is not alone, and that person thinks that they have the bragging rights because they're not alone, but yet they don't have love. So wouldn't you rather be alone and have peace than be with 5,000 people and have no peace? So that's the thing, is sometimes and yeah, you might have 10 cars, cool. You have to keep up with insurance and registration on all 10 vehicles. Make payments on all 10 vehicles. Maintain and repair all 10 vehicles. Put gas on all 10 vehicles. You have to worry about any one of those vehicles getting stolen. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's nice to have 10 vehicles, and God's saying that people view that someone who has 10 vehicles thinks that they should get to look down on someone who only has one, or thinks they're above someone who only has one. But at the end of the day, that may be one thing, right? But the person who only has one, they only have to worry about one vehicle. And if it gets them around, then what does it matter, right? It doesn't matter like anything extra comes with, so there's that old saying, more money, more problems, right? And so that's the thing, is nothing comes without a cost. So yeah, if you're poor, of course there's a cost of having to struggle, but at least there's gratitude and humility for what you have. And because you have gratitude and humility for what you have, the Lord takes care of you and maintains you. So therefore your stress level is quite low. But then there's somebody they have tons of riches, but they have to show off for that. They have to keep up with appearances. They have to pay all those car payments. They have to pay that hefty mortgage payment, on that big house. You know what I'm saying? So nothing comes without a cost. And so the Lord is saying that He's blessed these people with the things they wanted. They wanted to have the advantage over you and have these worldly things so that they could look down on you and feel like they're above you. Okay? And they have them, and they're not grateful for what they have. Meanwhile, they know, and the Lord knows that you have less than what they have. But because you have this clean heart, you're grateful for what you have, so the Lord continues to pour into you. And then because you have this clean heart and the Lord continues to pour into you, even though you're lesser off, these people have issue with you. And you'd think it would be the other way around, but it's not, because of the fact that you have a clean heart and a dirty heart, or you have a clean heart and they have a dirty heart. And so that's that's what it boils down to, okay? So because you're blessed, you may not necessarily have blessings by the world standards, but the Lord has blessed you with skills and talents. So you have skills and talents, right? Like the Lord was showing me examples. So say for instance for women, okay, say for instance you don't wear much makeup and you're not a vain person. It's not that you don't put in effort, it's not on your priority scale. Maybe once upon a time it was, but it's not anymore, okay? Say these women that are supposedly above you, they invest so much time, money, effort, and energy into looking good, okay? And then they see you, who's doesn't have the time, money, effort, and energy to put in. They know that, you know that, and even if you did have it, you're not going to put it in because you have other things to do, because you just lack that vanity part of your personality. So therefore, you're not doing all that. And they're spending 2-3 hours going all that and not getting all the attention, and it's not fulfilling the void that they have. But then meanwhile you're not doing all that, and you don't have a void, and even if you did have one, it would be filled. So now they think they look better than you, and maybe by the world standards they do, so they feel that gives them rights to look down on you. But yet they're the ones that are still, at the end of the day, envious and jealous of you because of the fact that you have the confidence and you're secure enough to go without that vanity and go without that makeup and keeping up with your appearance to level that they do, that they are, if down to the nitty gritty, they're jealous of the fact that they have to put in so much energy and effort because they have to maintain a certain status quo with people around them that you no longer entertain. And so they wish that they could just get up and go. And they can. They have the ability to get up and go. But they can't, because they're too focused and concerned about what other people would say and what other people would think and this, which just highlights the insecurity. You don't have all that. They know you don't, but yet it doesn't faze you. You don't care. So therefore, you're not insecure, and they are, okay? It's that simple fact. So then they get jealous of you that they have this hanging over their head, and you don't have that. But you're looking at them like, you don't have to have that hanging over your head. You choose to feel that way. I let that go a long time ago. You can too. It's within our human capabilities, right? So that's just one simple way, but the Lord showed me different examples, but that's like one example, okay? No different than another one. Say somebody works out religiously and they watch what they eat and they make sure that their body is perfect, right? Someone who eats whatever they want and is overweight might look at that person and think, oh wow, I wish that was me. And that's what they want. They want people to think, oh, I wish that was me. And they especially want you to think, I wish that was me. But you're not looking at them thinking that you wish that was you. You're content and happy with looking the way you look, eating what you eat, and you think, yeah, let's be real, let's be honest, I could probably lose a little bit, but I mean, I will one day, and you have a healthy perspective in regards to that. They feel that you and everybody else should be envious and jealous of them and their hard work that they put in, but because you're not, they feel slighted by that, and they turn around and don't understand why you're not looking at them that way, because if the shoes were reversed, they were the one that was overweight, eating whatever, and you were the one toned up, they'd be looking at you like that. Why? Because they have a dirty heart. So of course they would, but because you have a clean heart, you don't view life that way. So you're not, these people have put themselves on a pedestal, and they think they belong on one, and they think that they're above you, but yet you're not viewing them as on a pedestal, and you're not viewing them as above you. And so just this very fact upsets them. And this is what the Lord was showing me, okay? So now the next part. So because you are skilled and talented, you're just doing your thing. You're not trying to show off or flex or put on appearances or anything like that. You're literally just doing you. You know you don't own your own home. You know you rent. So you're just trying to make it the nicest home that you can, or make the best of it, right? You know that you have an old beater vehicle, you know. So you thank the Lord every day that the Lord keeps it running for you to run around your errands and get from A to B. These people have a newer vehicle under warranty, and they're looking for a new model for next year's model. They're out scoping for something new. Never content, never satisfied, never grateful, okay? And so because they're constantly in that position, it just creates more dirtiness in the heart. And therefore they're not receiving the pouring into from the Lord. And then they're getting even more mad, like Saul was. They're stomping their feet even more, because they're like, okay, I have everything, they have nothing. I see it, they see it, we all know it. I've done my best to make sure they have nothing, and they're still not viewing me on the pedestal that I view myself upon. And if anything, I'm feeling slighted because I'm getting perturbed that they have nothing and they're content, and I have everything and I'm not content. And it's like, that's correct, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the person's rich or poor, if they're this, that, or this, if they have lots, if they have nothing, it doesn't matter. It comes down to your heart space, your perspective, and your heart space. You view things differently because you have a clean heart, and they view things a certain way because their heart is dirty. And that's really the only flex that you truly have. But it's not viewed that way. It's viewed as, it must be this, right? And so Lord is saying that they have this dark spirit upon them, like how Saul got on him because of their dirty heart. And that is what's led them to do things to go against you, that's just made their heart even more dirty. And so they're constantly trying to pour into an empty cup, and it just stays empty, and they're wondering why, and it's because the water that they're pouring into the cup is just coming right out the bottom. They're never getting fulfilled, and they won't as long as they stay in this position, okay? So there's that. So meanwhile, you're off just, working with what you have, making the best of what you have, and you're able to do that. You could make a 5-course meal, a 5-star meal, thank you, a 5-star meal out of Kraft Dinner and hot dogs. You can make a 5-star meal out of it, because the Lord has blessed you with the skill of being good with cooking. These people can go and afford cooking classes, best of the best foods, shopping at the best this, getting from the best restaurants, and they still can't have the food taste to the capacity that yours does. Their food may taste good, but it's not like yours. They're jealous and envious over the skills that you have to make Kraft dinner and hot dogs be a 5-star meal. Meanwhile, they've cooked $200 ingredients and made a 3-star meal, you see? And again, it's just because of the skills that you have. You can't help that the Lord has made you how he's made you. It's just like Saul. David couldn't help how God made David. Saul had to get over it, period. Saul was Saul. David wasn't jealous of Saul. David was David, and Saul was jealous of David. Who's the one who needs the reprogramming, right? So the Lord sees them and you see them as you have everything. Just go do your thing. I'm not bothering you. I'm not trying to do anything against you. You're just feeling pressed because of the fact that, I'm gracious, I'm grateful, I'm content, I'm joyful, I'm peaceful, things like this. And money doesn't, as that saying says, money can't buy me happiness, right? Money doesn't buy everything. And these things that we want in life, like peace and joy and fulfillment and contentment, these things aren't bought at a store. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Poor people can get this, right? And most poor people do, because they're humble and they have a clean heart. So the Lord will pour into them these things that these other people are looking for, okay? So because you're just naturally skilled and talented and you have this clean heart, because of the fact that you're chosen, they have this issue against you no matter what you do. And so Lord has proven to you and proven to them that even when he strips you down to the bare essentials, like the bare minimum, they still have issue. So imagine if the Lord gave you your own beautiful, big, beautiful home. If the Lord gave you 10 cars. If the Lord gave you 100 friends. If the Lord gave you more than what they have. Say they have 50 friends and you have 100. Say they have 5 cars and you have 10. They would blow their top. They could not handle it. The only thing that helps them get any sleep at night is knowing that by the world standards, you have less than them. Because if you were you plus the affluence that they have and maybe even more, it would cause them to go berserk. They could not handle that discrepancy, okay? And the Lord has shown this. So they're seeing this. They're starting to see this. Like, this has been in play ever since the day you were born. This has been ongoing. But due to the events over the course of the last few years and them coming against you so relentlessly, they're starting to see, when I'm talking about this message, they're starting to see this for what it really is, right? And so the Lord is saying that now that they're seeing it, this is on purpose and intentional to get them to try to clean up and fix their heart space. Because what's dirty can be made clean if you put in effort, right? So the Lord wants them to clean up their heart space. So all of this unveiling and revealing is intentional so that they can go and clean up their heart space while they still have the chance. Go and repent, go and work on it, because the Lord has proven to them that it's not about how many friends you have or how much money you have or where you live or what you do. It literally comes down to these fundamentals of life that you have and that they don't. But they could get these fundamentals if they put in the effort for them like you do, right? But that's between them and the Lord. So anyway, so now it takes us into the second part where you're not doing anything. They think that you think you're better than them. Saul thought that David thought that he was better than Saul, but God revealed that David never felt that way. David never thought that. David can't think that because he has a clean heart, so therefore it doesn't happen. And even if David was guilty of sometimes having a pang of jealousy or a pang of this, it's normal. We're all going to get angry sometimes. We're all going to mess up sometimes or get jealous sometimes. That's part of the human experience. But it's when it turns into an envious, dark spirit that it becomes a problem. And that's what happened with Saul, is that it festered to that point for him, and it didn't for David, right? So yeah, maybe you have been jealous in your life, everybody has, but it never graduated to the point of envy and insecurity and all these other things, okay? So because of this discrepancy between you and them, they have been doing things over the course of years, not weeks, not months, but years upon years, decades, okay, to try to get you to look at them the way they look at you and take on this dark spirit and have these haughty eyes, but you don't have them. And if they've ever saw a glimmer in the past of your dark spirit or your haughty eyes or your jealousy pang, they took full advantage of that and they blew it up for their own appeasement to make it something that it wasn't. So say they were jealous of you, started out, because it starts with their dirty heart versus your clean one, and so they go and start dumping on you and dumping on you. You get frustrated, you get irritated, and so you clap back, as they say, because of the fact, not because you have a dirty heart or you're a jerk, but because, you can only poke the bear so many times before it growls. And so then you clap back at them, and then, oh, well, we got that on camera, and oh, gonna go tell the world, and oh, did you hear it was this, did you hear it was that, and they blow this thing out of proportion, and make it like you were foaming at the mouth, and all this stuff was going on, and completely eliminate the part that they played in the first place that caused that, right? It's all just you. And then they take that nugget, and they turn around and use that as fuel to go against you. And they take that to the Lord and say, oh, see, they weren't being clean of heart, they weren't practicing properly, they weren't being righteous, blah, blah, blah. God knows what really happened there, right? And because you have a clean heart, you could clap back at them for that, but you don't. You just take it and move on. Just like David took many slights from Saul and just moved on, right? But even in the cave, when David had the opportunity to cut Saul's garment, and he did, and just that in and of itself, you could tell that David was mad, because he's like, oh, I'll show him that, he's going against me, and I was put in this position, and I could have done this, and I didn't do it. David would have only went so far if he was frustrated, because if it just rolled off his back, he wouldn't have even thought to do that. But he did that, and then he did let Saul know after the fact, right? Proving the fact that obviously something that Saul was doing rubbed David wrong enough to the point that David chose to up the ante by saying, hey, I could have been like you, I could have went tit for tat with you, and I didn't. And even that in of itself fell on deaf ears, because Saul's spirit was so dirty and corrupt at that point that he just took that as, oh, there we go again. Now you could have took me out and you didn't even do that. Like, what? So you can't win for trying against these people. God is saying that if you're rich, they're going to come against you, and they'll actually come against you even more because you have a clean heart plus you're rich. If you have tons and tons of friends and you have a great partnership marriage, they're just going to come at you even more, because now you have a clean heart plus a good partnership plus friends. You know what I'm saying? If you have a whole bunch of vehicles or things, a nice wardrobe, they're still going to come against you, because now you have a clean heart plus this. So the Lord is saying that if on a scale of 1 to 10, the amount they come at you with your bare minimum, with your clean heart, is like an 8 out of 10, if the Lord pours into you and blesses you with the things that the Lord has bestowed upon them, it goes from an 8 to a 20. They're going to, the Lord is saying they're going to combust, so self-combustion. They're going to combust. They will not be able to handle that, right? It'll drive them over the top. So the Lord has actually been kind of shielding you and shielding them by having you in this situation. And they thought that this would appease them, this would, smooth things out for them, but it still didn't, because now they're mad that you have next to nothing. They've ensured you have next to nothing, and you're still taking your next to nothing with peace and joy and faith and gratitude. And the reason why you're taking it with that is because of your clean heart. And so that's really where their issue lies, is with that. And there's nothing they can do about that. No amount of coming against you, attempts, warfare is going to change the heart you have. But trust me, they've been trying. That's what they've been trying to do. That's been the angle all along, sent from the devil, of course, is to try to dirty up your heart space so that you can be just as dirty as them. And that's what the Lord is saying. All that Saul wanted David to feel the way that he did. He wanted him to have a dirty heart. He wanted him to have a dark spirit. He wanted him to be envious and jealous and bitter and all these other things and insecure that David was not, right? But because David walked with the Lord made sure that didn't happen for David. And because you walk with the Lord's going to make sure that doesn't happen for you either. So the Lord is saying these people are wrong. They're sitting there thinking that you need to sit down, you're arrogant, you're conceited, you're cocky, you're full of pride. They've went to each other and they've went to the Lord and they've tried to say, you must take this person down. They're full of pride. Pride's one of the 7 deadly sins. It's not right, it's not right, it's not right. But even in the story of David, he was one of the most admirable men in the Bible. And, you know, David still knew his place with the Lord. And feeling confident, feeling secure in what you have, that doesn't make you proud, prideful, arrogant, conceited. It doesn't. It's just like with David, he knew he was a good warrior. When it was talked about him going up against Goliath, they were like, there's no way you can do this. Like, look at you, you're small and slight, and you're young, and you're just a boy. And David's like, no, I can definitely do this, because I have fought off tigers and lions and bears from the flock. I've been scrapping since I was little, right? And this will be no match for me. And so Saul would have viewed that, or Joe Blow or so-and-so would have viewed that, even Goliath viewed that as David being cocky. Even when David came out with no armor on and no weapon, Goliath was like, really? You're going to step to me with just a slingshot with no armor? Like, that's how cocky you are? You really think you have this in the bag to that degree? And at the end of it, David did. And all David needed was the assurance from the Lord. And so that's the same thing with you, is knowing that the Lord has blessed you with the skills that you have. So if you're a good cook, and you know you are, there's nothing wrong with knowing that, because you're paying homage to the Lord for the fact that he blessed you with the skill of being a good cook. You know, it's no different than, say, if somebody's like, yeah, a good cook or a good hairdresser, and they're like, yeah, I do hair pretty good, you know. Someone could say, oh, you're cocky, oh, you think you're all that. How? Because the person never said they do hair better than so-and-so or so-and-so. They never said that. They said that they do hair pretty good. So meaning all they're guilty of is recognizing their own talent and ability that was God given to them. And the Lord wants you to do that. It'd be like, say, I always talk all the time, but say, for example, with Mariah Carey, and I talk about her because, I mean, legend voice, period. You know, if she's sitting there saying, I don't sing too good, I'm not too good at it, you and me would both be being like, yeah, right, you're being so humble and modest, like you're one of the best, right? So she doesn't need to say that about herself, because she is that good. But she also doesn't need to say, I'm the best singer in the world, I'm better than her and her and her. No, because that's overboard. But she can simply say, yeah, I can sing, I can carry a tune, you know, I can belt it out, I know what I can do. Maybe with her case, I can sing like nobody's business, but I can't cook a meal to save my life, right? And it's vice versa with me. I can cook like nobody's business, but I can't sing a tune to save my life. So you know, God blessed me with a cooking talent and not a singing one, and he blessed her with, say, maybe a singing talent but not a cooking one, right? So if she's blessed to be a good singer, to say that she's a good singer or to show off her voice isn't showing off. It's something that the Lord gave her, right? Now, if her voice isn't as good and she's sitting there belting it out and saying, aren't I good? That's different. But to actually bona fide, genuinely be good at something and recognizing that that's an area that the Lord has blessed you or blessed you with a talent or a skill in, that's paying homage to the Lord. Just like God made David a very valiant warrior. And so for David saying, yeah, I know I can... I may not be good at this, that, and the third, but when it comes to battle, I'm your man, because I've been doing this since I can remember, right? God wasn't like, tisk, tisk, David, go sit down, that pride's got you, you know? No, like, God did make David a very valiant warrior. That's why in the song, they were singing, Saul's taken down 1,000 and David's taken down 10,000, right? Is because of the fact that as good in battle that Saul was, David was just better, and he was better at being battle. David didn't run around going, I'm better at battle than Saul, I'm better at battle than Saul. Other people saw that. And so if you say you're a good cook and you've cooked for people, or say you're a good singer and you've sang for people, and then they go and say, oh, actually, you know, he or she can cook pretty good, I've ate their meals before, or so-and-so can actually sing pretty good, I've heard them sing, you know, well, you should be like, wow, that's great, you know. But no, to Saul's, oh, there we go, they think they're better, you know, other people see it, they're acting like they're better, things like that. And so because of this, Saul thought that David should have been taken down because David was a good warrior and he knew it. But in God's eyes, that wasn't pride. David never said he was a better warrior than Saul. Others did. David just recognized his own genuine God-given talents. And that's all you're doing, chosen one, is that you know what areas you excel in and what areas you lack in. These people have areas that they excel in and areas that they lack in. And because they choose to focus so much of their time, effort, and energy on the areas that you excel and lack in, it's causing the areas that they excel and lack in to fall to the wayside. and to just, kind of do what they do, because there's no focus being paid there, because they're so focused on you. But God's not going to come at you or do ABC to you simply because of the fact that you know where you excel at and where you lack in. Like, God knows that too. And so God is saying that these people think that you should be brought down, not blessed, unfavored, unchosen, taken down, repositioned, all the same stuff that Saul felt about David. And David wasn't guilty of anything, and he could have done certain moves like Saul did, but he chose not to. You could have done certain things like these people did, but you chose not to. And that's honestly just infuriating them all the more against you, right? And so the Lord views these people as nothing can satisfy you. If I give this person everything, you're going to go against them 10 times harder than you already are. But if I strip them down to nothing, to the bare minimum, then you're still going against them and unhappy, because you don't like what they're doing with what they have. You don't like that they're making lemons out of lemonade. Because if you had the lemons, you would just sit there sour. But because they have the lemons, they're making the lemonade, and that's a problem. You wanted them to just sit with lemons and, have nothing. It's not the Lord's fault or your fault that the Lord blessed you with the ability and the skill to make lemonade out of lemons. But they're upset with that, right? And that's their problem. Like, the Lord isn't going to shuffle and change up what they're doing or what you're doing. Like, Saul had to get over it, and so do these people, right? And we know what happened to Saul in the end, right? We know what happened to Saul in the end. So anyways, these people are trying to make you feel and trying to speak to others. So thank you, Lord. The Lord wants me to talk about one more thing. So because there's several people that don't like you or have gone against you, they feel that there's strength in numbers. So if one person doesn't like you and that's it, then maybe they're wrong, right? They're out to lunch. But because they don't, and this person doesn't, and this person doesn't, and they talk to this person and they don't either, and you slighted this other person 20 years ago, and you said something this other person didn't like 6 months ago, and then you did ABC 5 years ago after you did this, and all these different things from the past that these people can't get over. They have this long list of different things of slights that you've done in your past that you've already repented for and been forgiven for, by the way, and you don't even operate in that way anymore. But they have all these things against you. It's no different than when David made his mistake with Bathsheba, and I've talked about that before. Saul could have came to God 10 years down the road and said, well, don't you remember when David did what he did with Bathsheba? That was really sinful. I mean, he says he's a chosen one, and you say he is too, and he's a man after your own heart. But look, he committed adultery, and he committed murder and all these other things. God's like, yeah, I know. He repented for that, and I already punished him for that. Like, I already disciplined him on that. He's square now. You're right. You're 100% right. There was a debt there. He took care of the debt. The debt's been paid. He no longer owes today, 10 years from now, for the debt he incurred back then. People make mistakes. And here's Saul, full of mistakes, going on and on about this. These people are making mistakes on an everyday basis by having these haughty eyes, by running along in judgment, by having this dirty heart, by focusing on you and therefore not focusing on themselves. But yet the second that you get out of pocket or out of character, they're like, oh, there, I got it. And then they're running off to the presses to go and say, well, now look, Lord, now you can do this. And the Lord's like, no, they already repented for that, because you repent to Lord on a daily basis. So every mistake you make on a daily basis, you repent to Lord for on a daily basis. And if the Lord feels it necessary to chastise you, he does. You take your lumps like David took his, and you move on. But because these people can't understand that methodology, it falls on nothing. They can't comprehend it, right? Because it's foreign to them. So anyways, so these people, the Lord is saying that these people think that they really, despite what you may say or do, they really have something, they're warranted to have something against you, because if you weren't what they think you were, then why are so many people against you? And the Lord is saying so many people are against you because all those people that are against you have dirty hearts. That's why they think that their camaraderie is in not liking you. They think that, so when someone doesn't like you because they have a dirty heart, and they run into someone else who doesn't like you because they also have a dirty heart, then it justifies and validates why they both don't like you, because there's somebody else who doesn't like you for the same reason. But the Lord is saying that the reason why person A and person B both don't like you is because, not because of you, but because both of them have dirty hearts and you have a clean heart. So what really annoyed person A about you wasn't that you said or did or this or this or this, it's that you have a clean heart and theirs is dirty. And honestly, what also annoys person B is that you have a clean heart and they have a dirty heart. They cover it up with that, well, she said this, and she does this, and she acts this way, and she does this. But it's not actuality about that. The Lord is saying, even if he made you not able to speak the whole time you were, from the day you were born, if you were you, but you were mute, you could not talk, these people would still feel this way about you irregardless, even if you couldn't speak. So what that means is they're sitting here trying to justify it to themselves, to each other, and to the Lord, to say, well, we get to do these things because they did this, or they did that, or they did this. First of all, the Lord is saying, first of all, they're blowing up. They're I just said it. What's the word? Sorry, Lord. What is it? I can't remember. But they're blowing up. They're overdoing what it is that you did in the first place, right? And the second thing is that the Lord has already forgiven you for that. And third of all, the Lord's smarter than that. He knows that in reality, what the problem is in for real is that they have these dirty hearts and you have this clean heart. And the Lord's been trying to work with them to clean up their hearts, but it's like running in circles because they're so consistently focused on you, right? Just like how before Saul's demise, he was so focused on David too, right? And so the Lord's basically saying, don't take it personal, because it's not about these things in the past. First of all, if it was about these things in the past, you already squared with the Lord on those, so don't worry about what man thinks, just worry about what the Lord thinks. And the Lord is saying you're good with him on that. And second of all, aside from that, it's not even about those things. There's a deeper root to the issue, and the deeper root is the fact that they're envious and jealous of the fact that you have a clean heart and they have a dirty one. And the third thing is that you continue to pray for them despite this, despite all that they keep doing. The Lord knows that. He appreciates you for that, and he's taking inventory of what you're doing and what they're doing. They're reacting against you, and instead of you clapping back like you could, you're choosing to be like David, who cut the cloth and left. You're taking what they're doing in stride and going and praying for them. So the Lord is seeing you turn the other cheek, like how David turned the other cheek. And he's seeing them continue to be consumed by this, despite anything. It's all consuming them, right? And so when these people are trying to talk amongst themselves and bring it to the Lord and say that, they're justified because you're proud or you're arrogant or you're cocky, no, you're not. You're none of those things. And the Lord is pleased that you're celebrating where your talents and your skills, where he's blessed you. He celebrates those things, and he wants you to celebrate those things too. You really truly are a humble, good, genuine, nice, kind, caring, compassionate person. You've always been that way, just like that was truly David. Despite what he did with Bathsheba and Uriah, he really was that person, right? And that's what makes you chosen, and that's what gives you that clean heart. And the more that they come against you, and the more that you take those lemons they throw your way and turn them into lemonade, the more that the Lord can bless you. And the more that this cycle continues, the more upset that they get. But that's to be left on their own, on them. That sits with them, just like it sat with Saul. The Lord didn't want Saul's issues affecting David, and they didn't, right? And sometimes David would get down about what Saul was doing, but he talked to the Lord, and he talked to the Lord through his Psalms, and in other ways, right, through prayer and singing and dancing. But the Lord consistently reassured David of the very message that I'm coming with today. This is the same information that God gave David back when, that he's giving us today, because this is information for chosen ones, and only those who are chosen are going to understand this. Those who aren't chosen probably have a dirty heart and probably look upon the chosen ones with these haughty eyes, and they misconstrue and misunderstand intentionally every single thing that the chosen one does, even if what the chosen one is doing is good. So even though they're throwing you these lemons, you make lemonade, they're upset because they, just a second. Sorry. they're mad because they're not getting to get the reaction from you that they're expecting. And that's the same thing with Saul, was he was getting mad because he wasn't getting the reaction he was expecting from David. David took what Saul was doing and went to the Lord about it. You take what they do and you go to the Lord about it too. And the Lord advises you to pray for them, and that's what you do. So therefore, in the Lord's eyes, you're not doing anything wrong, and in actuality, you're being obedient. You're doing his will by going and praying for them and turning the other cheek. So they think you're racking up points, but you're not. They're the ones that are actually racking up the points, and they just don't see it that way. And so in reality, they think that you're the proud, conceited one. You're not. They're actually the proud and conceited one to view the situation the way that they do. They think that you're the one that should focus on other things. They're actually the ones that need to focus on other things. They think that the Lord they're working for the Lord. They're doing, oh, thank you, Lord. That's another thing too, is the Lord wanted me to say in this message. They thought that you were of the devil. They thought that you were bad or had a dark spirit on you, like how Saul had. They thought that that was you. They're the Sauls, but they thought you were the Saul. And they thought that they were doing the Lord's work on behalf of the Lord. But in reality, you're doing the Lord's work on behalf of the Lord. You know, towards the end of things, Saul represented the devil and David represented the Lord. These people are working for and representing the devil, and you are the one working for and representing the Lord. But they think that what originally motivated them to come against you and what continues to fuel them is that they think that you're of the devil and the shoes are the other way around, and that you have the dark spirit and that they're doing the Lord's work for the Lord. They think they're doing good, and they're not. They're not. The reason why they're in the positions they're in, despite their affluence, is because of their dirty heart. And the reason, not the main reason, one of several reasons why their heart is so dirty is because of how they're choosing to view you and how they're choosing to go against you and purposely misunderstand and misinterpret what it is you're doing. You've always had a clean heart. You've always been chosen. Yes, you've made some mistakes in your past, just like how David made mistakes with the Bathsheba situation. But you repented to the Lord since then. You've changed your ways. David repented to the Lord and changed his ways as well. It didn't take away his anointing and God's plan for him. Also, what your past has not taken away your anointing or your chosen status or God's plan for you either. These people were frustrated with you 10 years ago. They're frustrated with you today. Even though you walked in the world 10 years ago and today you walk with the Lord, they're still not happy. And the Lord's like, what do you want from me? This person was in the world 10 years ago. You still had issues with them. They've now left the world. They're no longer in the world. They're doing better, feeling better, acting better, thinking better, all this, and you still have issues with them. There's no appeasing these people, because as long as you walk around on this planet, you're going to have a clean heart, despite whether you're on the straight and narrow or you go off course. And so because of that clean heart that will never leave you, despite how much effort they put in to try to change and switch it, that's what's causing them to be motivated to go against you. So it's a vicious cycle, right? And because you continue to turn the other cheek and repent for your infractions, plus pray for these people, despite what they're doing against you, all the more the Lord continues to keep your heart clean and to pour into you. So you go round and round, they go round and round, just in two different directions. So they're never going to achieve what they want to achieve. Just like Saul never ended up achieving what he wanted to achieve. The Lord took him out before that was ever going to happen. And David went on for greatness. It was what it was, right? And so the summary here is, don't allow these people to make you feel like you're proud and you're sinning and you're of the devil and you have a dark spirit and a dark heart and all this stuff, because that's actually on them. It's the other way around. And these people want you to look at them with the same coveting, envious, jealous eyes, haughty eyes towards them that they have for you. But the Lord is saying, not only do you not feel that way, you're never going to feel that way. And don't be surprised if you see them trying to change your perception or your heart space, because that's the only way that they can try to get at you, to put you on the same level as them. Because they know their heart is dirty, and they're deep down they know it, and they're not doing anything to fix it. So they're envious that yours is clean, so because they won't clean theirs, they want to make yours dirty. Those are the only two options. Either yours is clean and then theirs is clean, or theirs is dirty and yours is dirty. And because you and the Lord want them to clean theirs, that's why you pray for them. But because they refuse to work on theirs like you work on yours, therefore they stay dirty, and they just want to bring you down to their level and make yours dirty like theirs. But did Saul end up bringing David down to his level and make David's heart dirty like Saul's? No. God had other plans in that situation, right? And so just continue doing what you're doing. Be proud. Yes, be proud. Thank you, Lord. The Lord is saying, yes, be proud of what the Lord has given you as your talent and skills. There's a big difference between being proud and confident of, it's no different than if your child, say you have your child and your child graduates high school and goes on to become a doctor. You're proud of your child, right? You're not sitting there going to everyone going, my child's a doctor, ha, my child graduated, yours didn't. That's not what you're doing. But you're proud of your child, right? That's the very same thing, is be proud of yourself. And your child should be proud of themselves too. Imagine if your child graduates school and becomes a doctor, and they're sitting there saying, I'm not very good, I'm not good at school, I'm not good. You would be sitting there saying, hey, what are you talking about? You graduated high school, you went to university and became a doctor, you have your doctorate. You would be pointing out the obvious, right? It's the exact same scenario. The Lord wants you to be proud of your accomplishments, be proud of your skills and your talents. And the Lord is also proud of you as his child, like how a physical father would be proud of their child if their child completed, something that was very difficult or, deserved accolades, right? It's the same thing. So be proud of yourself, be proud and confident in the talents and skills that you've worked for, that the Lord has bestowed upon you, because when you do, you're paying homage to the Lord and how he created you. No different than David knew his skills as a warrior and was paying homage to the Lord for making him a powerful warrior, right? It was what it was. And yeah, let this message be revelation and confirmation for you. These people thought that they were warranted to come against you because they thought you were better than them, but you never once did. Therefore, they thought that you had the spirit of the devil upon you and that you had a dark spirit, but you never did. The only people that had the dark spirit and the spirit of the devil was these people, but they didn't see it correctly. So they chose to band together to come against you, thinking that they were justified and warranted to come against you because, well, I'm not the only one that thinks this, so does so-and-so, so does so-and-so. Everyone I talk to all says the same thing. They all think that this person thinks that they're great and they're cocky and they're arrogant. No. All you're guilty of is knowing who you really are, how God made you, and paying homage to the Lord for the gifts and gratitude that he's bestowed upon you. And the Lord wants his children to feel that way because he's proud of them. And they're misconstruing it. And so it doesn't matter if these people have 2 people on their team or 100 people on their team or 1,000 people on their team. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change the fact that they're the ones that are living under illusion because they're dealing with the devil, and that you aren't that way. You're not a proud, haughty, arrogant person. If anything, they are, right? You are just making the best of what you have. You're making, one of your talents and skills is making lemonade out of lemons. And the Lord wishes that they could, have that same skill and talent. And the Lord's getting frustrated that despite everything he has blessed them with, they're not grateful for it, and they're not focusing and taking care of and maintaining what they have. They're too focused on your lack, and feeling like as if it's something else. And they're mostly just pressed because you're not looking at them with putting them on the same pedestal that they view themselves on. But you're not going to idolize them, right? So, I don't know. It's so frustrating. It's a big mess. It's like it's a mess is what the Lord is saying. So, I hope this message brings you some revelation and confirmation. I hope it finds you well. I know the Lord is going to bring the right ones across it at the right time. And I hope it makes sense. And take care, and God bless.